Ron Darling back on the show. How are you, Ron?
Hi, Rich. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. So the Yankees in feast or famine mode, where they're striking out way too much, they finally connected last night. What do you think about their chances to even the series today, Ron?
Well, I think, what they have is I think they have a little bit of an advantage. McCullers Jr., of course, is a fantastic young pitcher, but he didn't pitch a lot this year, so I don't know how deep he's going to be able to go into the game. Whereas Sonny Gray, at his best, is a guy that can really get the ball to the talent that they have for that Yankee club at the end of the bullpen. So, yeah, I think the Yankees' chances are good today, even though despite Houston's great young talent.
And that would even things up at 2 games apiece should something like that happen. And if not, then they can go the Astros for the kill shot with Keuchel on the mound. And then before we move to the NLCS, that Verlander performance in Game 2 was such a throwback. I mean, how many times, Ron, have you seen lately guy who's pitching well, 7th inning? Well, he's got 90 pitches. Let's turn it over to the specialists in the pen. I loved what A.J. Hinch did with Verlander on Saturday.
It's one of those things that we don't get to see that much anymore. And for some of us that are a little older, of course, we really appreciate when a guy throws, 124, 125 pitches. Justin has spanned enough time that he can not only do that, but also give way to the bullpen. I just think I don't know, I in this day and age where we're asking, how can we make the games quicker? The best way to do that is have a guy go 9 innings. And it was fun to see JV do that.
Yeah, it was. And then, Ron, it's interesting. I mentioned this yesterday. I would love to get your take on that. In the same day that we saw a throwback, a 20th century type pitching performance, Jack Morris type pitching performance. Back in the day, Dwight Gooden, right? I mean, guys would just go deep into games, and let's just stick with that stuff. Just when we're all enjoying that, the convergence of player safety and instant replay comes together later on that night in Chavez Ravine, where the Dodgers get an insurance run on a replay reversal based on a rule that was put into place to keep catchers healthy. What's your take on that, Ron?
Yeah, my take is, it was pretty obvious probably from if you watched the game. But my take is, I think it's a bad rule. I think it's always been a bad rule. I have no problem with trying to protect anyone that's on the field. I think if someone were to go out of their way to injure a catcher, that would have been a better rule, and make sure they don't play for the rest of the year. That would have been a rule they could use. I just think that, the Kyle Schwarber will never make a better defensive play than he did on that ball with the one-hop throw, and, of course, Contreras with a great athletic play to try to block the plate. All of that stuff, I think, is great for the game, not bad for the game. And I think if players know the rule would be if you went out of your way to injure a catcher, you're going to be thrown out of the game for that year. I think you'd very rarely see people going through the catcher.
Yeah, and it's interesting that seeing baseball fans go through what NFL fans have gone through for quite some time, and it still are with instant replay, with a Lions win being reversed at the last second to make it a Falcons win on the half-yard line after it was called a touchdown, something that's been a touchdown forever, now no longer is when it's parsed out. Same thing with Jose Lobaton getting thrown out at first base in that big Game 5 in Washington, Ron. I mean, do you think that there's going to be some sort of backlash to instant replay in the offseason in the halls of baseball, Ron?
I think there's going to be some talk about it. Think about it this way, Rich. Can you imagine if that was the last play of the 7th game of a World Series and that had to be reversed to call it the plate? Can you imagine Jacoby Ellsbury or Tommy LaStella the other night with catcher's interference? Can you imagine that being the last play of a World Series with the bases loaded and 2 outs? Those are things that they're really going to have to look at and work backwards. Work backwards from, okay, what would be the worst-case scenario for us in a Game 7 of a World Series? And then if you work backwards from there, then you can eliminate some of the stuff.
Ron Darling joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about Darvish tonight. What do you expect out of him in Wrigley this evening?
I think what you're going to get from the Dodgers starting pitching is that you're going to get 5 innings, maybe 6, and they're going to just go to that talented bullpen. You can see Dave Roberts does not want his starting pitchers to face the lineup the third time through. He wants to go straight to that bullpen. So, I mean, Darvish could have the same kind of game that Hill had, where it's 5 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, amazing game, and get taken out. That is going to be the game plan, I think, for the Dodgers. And it's just the opposite, I think, for the Cubs. I don't think they are as deep in the bullpen. So don't be surprised if you see Kyle Hendricks out there for 7+ innings. He did it in Washington in Game 1. They need the same kind of effort tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the Cubs have yet to get a hit against the Dodgers bullpen. They're 0 for 24 going into Game 3 tonight. And then, obviously, Wade Davis is rested. Did you think Joe Madden should have put him in against Turner in that ninth inning?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the only thing I would have changed is I can understand Wade Davis is not Kenley Jansen. He's not as young. He's not a guy that can pitch 6 or 7 outs, even though he did in the Washington series, but that was a Game 5. I don't even know if he's fully recovered from that. But maybe Rondon would have been a better choice than Lackey, only because John had never pitched on successive days in his career, and he's been around forever. And, I think the bounce back was not great. So maybe Rondon would have been a better choice. But I can see, Joe's only going to use Davis when he has an opportunity to win the game.
And what makes the Dodgers so good? I mean, you've seen them so often. Now, Seager's not even playing, and they're up halfway through to knock off the defending champs right now. Ron?
I think it's their depth, Rich. You've seen them all summer long. When you have the ability, and they didn't even do anything, but you have the ability to bring a Granderson or an Utley off the bench, Peterson to play defense late. It's that. They just are so deep, and I think that just as the Indians did last year to get to a 3-1 lead, although the Cubs came back, that bullpen seems like the same formula that Terry Francona used last year. And, I'd be hard-pressed to see them not being in the World Series because of that talented bullpen.
And have you ever seen someone bat flip on a double before, Ron?
I'm seeing more and more people bat flip. I think, it's really interesting. It's almost impossible to try to be an analyst with Yasiel Puig because he does so many things that just irritate you and make you upset that if you address each and every one, that would be the entire broadcast. So, if you were a player in my day, you could take care of him in a different way. But as an analyst, I just kind of try to ignore it.
Are you saying your verbiage is going high and tight, Ron? Is that what you're saying?
Verbiage. That's all I have left.
That's Although,
funny.
Just to wrap this up, we had Ned Colletti in studio last week. To me, the fact that Puig was professionally rehabilitated is remarkable. When they sent him down to Oklahoma City last summer in Roberts' first year as manager, I thought it was over for him. And the fact that he is not only back, but back in a way that he is a significant contributor to this team is just remarkable. I can't remember another instance of something like that. Can you, Ron?
No, I can't either. And I was with you. I thought that at some point, because of his inability to concentrate from pitch to pitch, that he literally was going to play himself out of the game. And there's nothing worse than great talent wasted. And I'm happy for the Dodgers, and I'm happy for him because he's too good of an athlete not to do the kind of things that he's doing now. And the ancillary things that he does that can irritate you shouldn't overshadow that he's a tremendous athlete, a tremendous player now, and that he's put in all the hard work to get back.
Yes, he's got tongues wagging. There's no question about that. You take care, Ron, okay? I look forward to your call
Thanks,
tonight.
Rick.
Always look forward to your calls into this show. That's Ron Darling of Turner.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that video, be sure to download our app. Don't have any memory on your phone? Let's start to delete some of those slow-mo videos you have. And you know which ones I'm talking about.